Good evening, my friends. If you're anything like me, you know that a good night's sleep becomes more precious as the years go by. I'm Margaret, and at 72, I've learned that the simple joys of life, like waking up refreshed after a full night's rest, are truly worth celebrating. But lately, that celebration had become increasingly rare in my home. I remember staring at my bedroom ceiling at 3 a.m., listening to the gentle snoring of my husband Robert beside me, wondering why sleep had become such an elusive friend. The doctor had ruled out major health concerns. My new mattress was comfortable, and I'd even installed those blackout curtains my daughter Jane insisted would help. Yet, night after night, I'd find myself awake, my mind alert when it should have been peacefully drifting through dreams. Perhaps you know this feeling too. That frustration when your body is tired, but your mind refuses to settle. The way you watch the clock, calculating how many hours of sleep you might still salvage before morning arrives. The heaviness that follows you through the next day, making everything just a little harder than it needs to be. What I didn't realize then, what many of us don't realize, is that the answer to my sleep troubles wasn't in my bedroom at all. It was in my kitchen. It was during one of our weekly card games that my dear friend Eleanor mentioned something that would change everything for me. Eleanor, at 75, had always been the energetic one in our group, the one who suggested walks after lunch, and who never seemed to run out of steam. When I mentioned my sleep troubles over a hand of bridge, she smiled knowingly. "You know, Margaret, I had the same problem last year," she said, laying down her cards. "Turns out, it wasn't my age or my mind. It was what I was eating and drinking before bed." I remember laughing it off at first. Surely my evening cup of tea and the occasional cookie couldn't be responsible for hours of nighttime wakefulness. But Eleanor's words stayed with me, and later that week, I found myself in the local library, researching the connection between diet and sleep in seniors. What I discovered was nothing short of eye-opening. So many of the foods and drinks I enjoyed regularly, especially in the evening, were actually known sleep disruptors. The research was clear. What we consume in the hours before bedtime can significantly impact our sleep quality, and this effect often becomes more pronounced as we age. That afternoon in the library marked the beginning of my journey toward better sleep, a journey I want to share with you today. Because if making a few simple changes to my evening menu could transform my nights from restless to restful, perhaps it could do the same for you. The science behind sleep and aging. Before I share the 5 foods that were sabotaging my sleep, let's talk briefly about why sleep changes as we mature. It's not just your imagination. Sleep does become different as we age. And understanding these changes helped me feel less alone in my struggles. As we grow older, our bodies produce less of the hormones that regulate sleep. Melatonin, often called the sleep hormone, decreases naturally with age. This can make it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep through the night. Additionally, our sleep cycles shift, with many seniors spending more time in lighter sleep stages and less time in the deeper, restorative phases. Medical conditions common in our age group, arthritis, heart conditions, reflux, and nighttime trips to the bathroom, can all interfere with sleep. So can many medications. And let's not forget that life changes, like retirement or losing a spouse, can bring stress and anxiety that keep our minds active when we should be resting. When I learned all this, I felt a strange mix of disappointment and relief. Disappointment because, well, who wants to hear that good sleep becomes naturally harder to achieve? But relief, because it meant I wasn't imagining things, and I wasn't alone. What truly gave me hope, though, was discovering that while some age-related sleep changes are inevitable, many sleep problems are connected to habits we can control, like what we eat and drink, especially in the hours before bedtime. The culprit's in my kitchen. After my research at the library, I began keeping a detailed food and sleep journal. Each evening, I'd write down everything I ate and drank after 4 p.m. The next morning, I'd record how well I slept, noting how long it took me to fall asleep, whether I woke during the night, and how I felt upon waking. After 3 weeks, patterns began to emerge. Certain foods and drinks were clearly associated with my worst nights of sleep. Working with my doctor and a nutritionist from our local senior center, I identified the 5 main culprits that were robbing me of precious rest. I'm going to share these with you now, along with what I learned about why they affect our sleep so significantly, especially as we age. More importantly, I'll share the alternatives I discovered, because giving up evening treats altogether wasn't an option for me, and it probably isn't for you either. Culprit number 1. Caffeine, the sneaky sleep thief. The first and most significant sleep disruptor in my life was caffeine. Now, I've been a tea drinker all my life. My mother was British, and the tradition of afternoon tea was sacred in our home. When I married Robert, who prefers coffee, I expanded my caffeine repertoire. By the time I started my sleep investigation, I was enjoying a cup of coffee with breakfast, tea at lunch, another coffee in the afternoon, and a final cup of tea after dinner. But Margaret, you might be thinking, I've been drinking coffee all my life. Surely it can't suddenly start affecting my sleep now. That's exactly what I thought. But here's what I learned. As we age, our bodies metabolize caffeine more slowly. The half-life of caffeine, the time it takes for your body to eliminate half of the caffeine you've consumed, can be up to 7 hours for seniors. This means the coffee I enjoyed at 2 p.m. was still actively affecting my system at 9 p.m. when I was trying to wind down for sleep. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine, a chemical that builds up in our bodies throughout the day and makes us feel sleepy. By preventing adenosine from doing its job, caffeine keeps us alert and awake, exactly what we don't want at bedtime. And it's not just in coffee and tea. Caffeine hides in chocolate, certain medications, some sodas, and even in some decaf beverages, which still contain small amounts of caffeine. My evening chocolate cookies were contributing to my sleep problems as surely as my after-dinner tea was. The solution wasn't to eliminate caffeine entirely. Heaven forbid. Instead, I established a caffeine curfew. No caffeine after noon became my rule. I switched to herbal teas in the afternoon and evening, finding particular comfort in chamomile, valerian, and lavender blends that actually promote sleep rather than prevent it. For my evening sweet treat, I replaced chocolate cookies with vanilla or shortbread varieties. Dark chocolate in particular has significant caffeine, so saving that for a morning or early afternoon treat became my new habit. Within a week of implementing my caffeine curfew, I noticed I was falling asleep more quickly and experiencing fewer middle-of-the-night awakenings. It was the first victory in my battle for better sleep, and it encouraged me to explore what other evening foods might be affecting my rest. Culprit number 2. Alcohol, the false friend. The next culprit surprised me, as it's often thought of as a sleep aid rather than a sleep disruptor. For years, Robert and I have enjoyed a glass of wine with dinner. On particularly restless nights, I sometimes had an extra glass, believing it would help me fall asleep. And while alcohol can indeed make you drowsy initially, I discovered it's actually sabotaging your sleep quality in the long run. Alcohol may help you fall asleep faster, but it significantly disrupts your sleep cycle, particularly during the second half of the night. It reduces REM sleep, that vital dream stage where your brain processes emotions and consolidates memories. This explains why I often found myself wide awake at 2 or 3 a.m. after having wine with dinner. For seniors, alcohol's effects on sleep are even more pronounced. Our bodies metabolize alcohol more slowly as we age, and the dehydrating effects can increase nighttime awakening for bathroom trips. Plus, alcohol can worsen sleep apnea and snoring, which are more common in our age group. Alcohol also relaxes the muscles in your throat, which can worsen snoring and sleep apnea, conditions that are already more common as we age. Robert, who occasionally snores, was definitely louder on nights when we shared a bottle of wine with dinner. The solution wasn't necessarily to eliminate evening alcohol entirely, though some might prefer that approach. Instead, I made 3 significant changes. I stopped drinking alcohol within 3 hours of bedtime, reduced my serving size to just 1 small glass, and made sure to drink a full glass of water alongside any alcoholic beverage to counter the dehydrating effects. On special occasions when we do enjoy more wine, like at our granddaughter's wedding last month, I make sure to give my body extra time to metabolize the alcohol before bedtime. And I accept that my sleep might be disrupted that night. The improvement in my sleep after making these changes was remarkable. Those 2 a.m. awakenings became much less frequent, and when I did wake during the night, I found it easier to fall back asleep. Culprit number 3. Spicy foods, the midnight flame. The third culprit took a bit longer to identify, as it wasn't part of my daily routine, but rather an occasional disruptor: spicy foods. Robert and I enjoy trying different cuisines, and over the years, we've developed quite an appreciation for spicy dishes, Thai curries, Mexican enchiladas with hot sauce, and Indian vindaloos. Through my food and sleep journal, I noticed a clear pattern. Nights after we enjoyed spicy dinners were often followed by restless sleep and sometimes uncomfortable digestive issues. The reason, I learned, is multifaceted. Spicy foods can raise your core body temperature, which interferes with the natural drop in temperature your body needs to initiate sleep. They can also cause indigestion, heartburn, and acid reflux, all uncomfortable conditions that make quality sleep nearly impossible. As we age, our digestive systems become more sensitive, and the protective lining of our stomach thins. This makes us more susceptible to the irritating effects of spicy foods, especially when consumed close to bedtime. The discomfort can be enough to wake us from sleep or prevent us from falling asleep in the first place. The solution wasn't to give up the spicy foods we love, but to enjoy them at lunch rather than dinner, giving our bodies ample time to digest before bedtime. When we do have spicy foods for dinner, because life is too short to always deny yourself pleasure, I make sure it's at least 4 hours before bedtime, and I often take a gentle walk afterward to aid digestion. I've also learned to adjust the spice level down a bit, and to pair spicy dishes with cooling foods like yogurt, which can help neutralize some of the heat. A raita, alongside Indian food, or sour cream with Mexican dishes, serves both as a tasty complement and a digestive aid. These adjustments have made a significant difference in my sleep quality, while still allowing us to enjoy the diverse flavors we love. It's a compromise that honors both my need for good sleep and my desire to continue enjoying varied and interesting meals. Culprit number 4. sugary treats, and refined carbs. The blood sugar roller coaster. The fourth sleep disruptor in my evening routine was less obvious but equally impactful. Sugary foods and refined carbohydrates. I've always had what my mother called a bit of a sweet tooth, and over the years, an evening dessert had become a cherished ritual for Robert and me. Ice cream while watching our favorite shows, a slice of cake after dinner, or cookies with our evening tea. These were simple pleasures I looked forward to. What I didn't realize was how dramatically these treats were affecting my blood sugar levels, and consequently, my sleep. When you consume sugary foods, or refined carbs like white bread, pastries, or white rice, your blood sugar rises quickly. Your body releases insulin to bring those levels down, which can lead to a blood sugar crash during the night. These fluctuations can trigger the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which may wake you up from sleep. I was essentially giving my body a hormonal roller coaster ride, right when it needed stability and calm. For seniors, this effect can be even more pronounced, as our bodies become less efficient at regulating blood sugar as we age. Many of us develop some level of insulin resistance over time, making these blood sugar swings more dramatic, and their effects on sleep more significant. The solution wasn't to eliminate evening treats. I'm not one for extreme measures, but to make smarter choices about what and when I indulge. I started choosing desserts with less sugar and more protein, fiber, and healthy fats, which help stabilize blood sugar levels. A small bowl of Greek yogurt with berries and a drizzle of honey became a satisfying replacement for ice cream. Whole grain crackers with a bit of cheese replaced cookies with tea. And when I do have a more indulgent dessert, I make sure to have it right after dinner, rather than as a late-night snack, giving my body more time to process the sugar before sleep. I also discovered that a short, gentle walk after dinner helps regulate blood sugar levels. Robert and I now make it a habit to stroll around the neighborhood after evening meals, which has benefits beyond just blood sugar control. It's become valuable time for conversation and connection. The impact of these changes on my sleep was significant. Those night awakenings around 1 or 2 a.m., often accompanied by a racing heart or a vague sense of anxiety, decreased dramatically. I found myself sleeping more soundly through the night and waking less frequently. Culprit, number 5. Heavy, high-fat meals. The digestive burden. The final sleep disruptor I identified was perhaps the most unexpected. Large, heavy meals, high in fat, especially when consumed close to bedtime. Like many families, Robert and I had fallen into the habit of making dinner our largest meal of the day. Often, this included rich foods like steak, fried chicken, creamy pastas, or cheesy casseroles, the comfort foods we'd enjoyed all our lives. Through my sleep journal, I noticed that nights after particularly heavy dinners were often followed by restless sleep. Initially, I attributed this to simple fullness or occasional indigestion. But as I researched further, I learned that the connection between heavy meals and poor sleep goes much deeper. High-fat foods take longer to digest than proteins or carbohydrates. When you eat a heavy, fat-laden meal close to bedtime, your digestive system is forced to work overtime during hours when it should be resting and recovering. This can prevent your body from reaching the deeper, more restorative stages of sleep. Fat stimulates the production of stomach acid, which can lead to heartburn or acid reflux when you lie down. These uncomfortable conditions are common disruptors of sleep, especially for seniors, as the muscle that prevents stomach acid from rising into the esophagus weakens with age. Additionally, digesting a heavy meal requires energy, which can actually raise your body temperature and heart rate, physiological changes that run counter to what your body needs for sleep onset. For seniors specifically, our digestive systems naturally slow down as we age, making heavy meals even more challenging to process, especially at night. Many of us also take medications that can further slow digestion or interact with certain foods. The solution was to reimagine our meal timing and composition. We began making lunch our largest meal of the day, with dinner becoming lighter and simpler. We moved our dinner time earlier, ideally finishing at least 3 hours before bedtime, to give our bodies ample time to digest. When we do include higher fat foods in our evening meals, we make sure to balance them with plenty of vegetables and to keep portions moderate. We've discovered that simple proteins like grilled fish or chicken, paired with roasted vegetables or a light soup, can be thoroughly satisfying without overworking our digestive systems. One particularly effective change was replacing heavy desserts with a light evening walk. The physical activity helps digestion and promotes better sleep, making it a double benefit. These adjustments to our evening eating habits resulted in noticeable improvements in my sleep quality. I experienced less nighttime discomfort, fewer instances of heartburn, and more consistent, deeper sleep throughout the night. The transformation, my new evening routine. With all 5 culprits identified and addressed, my evenings, and consequently my nights, underwent a complete transformation. What once was a time of unknowingly setting myself up for sleep failure became a purposeful preparation for rest. My new evening routine now includes a light, early dinner, think soup and salad, or grilled fish with roasted vegetables, finished by 6 p.m. when possible. After dinner, Robert and I take a 20-minute walk around our neighborhood, which helps digestion and exposes us to natural light that helps regulate our internal clocks. Around 7 p.m., I might have a small snack if I'm hungry, but I choose wisely. A handful of almonds, a piece of fruit with a small piece of cheese, or a cup of tart cherry juice, which naturally contains melatonin. I avoid caffeine completely after noon, replacing my afternoon coffee and evening tea with herbal varieties like chamomile, valerian, or lavender. If Robert and I enjoy a glass of wine, we have it with dinner and follow it with plenty of water. We save our spicier meals for lunch, or make sure they're early enough that my body has time to digest before bed. And rather than ice cream or cookies while watching evening TV, we opt for lighter treats like a small bowl of berries or a few whole grain crackers. The result? I now fall asleep within minutes of my head hitting the pillow, rather than tossing and turning for an hour or more. I sleep soundly through the night, rarely waking more than once, usually for a quick bathroom trip. And most importantly, I wake in the morning feeling truly rested, ready to embrace the day with energy and enthusiasm that I hadn't felt in years. Beyond food, other sleep-enhancing habits. While adjusting my diet made a tremendous difference in my sleep quality, I also incorporated other habits that complement these dietary changes. Together, they create a holistic approach to better sleep that addresses multiple aspects of sleep health. I established a consistent sleep schedule, going to bed and waking at the same time every day, even weekends. This regularity helps reinforce my body's natural sleep-wake cycle. I created a soothing bedtime routine that signals to my body that it's time to wind down. This includes turning off the TV and other screens an hour before bed. The blue light can suppress melatonin production. Taking a warm bath and reading a physical book, Nothing too exciting. For 20 minutes before lights out, I made my bedroom a true sleep sanctuary. Cool, around 65 degrees. Completely dark, thanks to those blackout curtains my daughter recommended, and quiet. I invested in a comfortable mattress and pillows that support my aging back and shoulders. I also began practicing gentle relaxation techniques when I first lie down. Progressive muscle relaxation, where I tense and then release each muscle group from toes to head, and deep breathing exercises that calm my mind and body. For those occasions when sleep remains elusive, despite my best efforts, I no longer lie in bed feeling frustrated. Instead, I get up after 20 minutes, go to another room, and do something relaxing in dim light, like gentle stretching or reading, until I feel sleepy again. Sharing the journey, sleep success stories. One of the most rewarding aspects of my sleep transformation has been sharing what I've learned with friends and family who struggle with similar issues. Eleanor, who first planted the seed of dietary connections to sleep, was delighted to hear how her casual comment had sparked such positive change in my life. My sister Patricia, who had been taking sleep medications for years, gradually weaned off them with her doctor's supervision after implementing similar dietary changes. At 76, she's now enjoying natural, restorative sleep for the first time in over a decade. Our neighbor Tom, a 78-year-old widower who had been having trouble sleeping since losing his wife, found that changing his evening eating habits, particularly cutting back on the high-fat, convenience meals he'd been relying on, made a significant difference in his sleep quality. Even my daughter Jane, though much younger at 45, has benefited from some of these same principles. As she approaches menopause, sleep disruptions have become a concern for her, and adopting a caffeine curfew has helped her maintain better sleep despite hormonal fluctuations. Each success story reminds me that good sleep isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for health and well-being at every age, but particularly in our senior years, when quality rest becomes both more challenging and more essential. The bigger picture, sleep and senior health. Through this journey, I've come to understand that sleep isn't just about feeling rested, though that's certainly important. Quality sleep plays a crucial role in nearly every aspect of health, and its importance only increases as we age. Good sleep strengthens our immune systems, helping us fight off illnesses that can be more serious for seniors. It improves memory and cognitive function, which many of us are eager to maintain as we age. It helps regulate blood pressure and reduces inflammation, lowering the risk of heart disease and stroke. Adequate sleep also improves balance and coordination, potentially reducing fall risk, a significant concern for many seniors. It helps regulate hormones that control hunger and metabolism, making weight management easier. And perhaps most noticeably, it affects mood and emotional well-being, helping ward off depression and anxiety. By making the connection between what we eat and how we sleep, we gain a powerful tool for improving our overall health. It's a connection that seems so obvious in retrospect, yet one that many of us, and even some healthcare providers, overlook. My friends, if you're struggling with sleep, I encourage you to consider what might be on your dinner plate or in your evening cup. The 5 culprits that disrupted my sleep: caffeine, alcohol, spicy foods, sugary treats and refined carbs, and heavy, high-fat meals, might be affecting you too. Start by keeping a simple food and sleep journal for a couple of weeks. Note what you eat and drink, especially after 4 p.m., and how you sleep that night. Patterns will likely emerge, showing you which specific foods or beverages might be interfering with your rest. Remember that you don't have to make drastic changes all at once. Pick one area to focus on first, perhaps establishing a caffeine curfew or making your evening meal lighter. Small, consistent changes often lead to the most sustainable improvements. And be patient with yourself. Our bodies have been developing their habits for decades, and it may take some time to fully adjust to new patterns. Any improvement in sleep quality, even if it's not perfect, is a step toward better health and well-being. At 72, I've learned that it's never too late to make positive changes. The quality of our senior years isn't predetermined by age alone. It's influenced by the choices we make each day, including what we put on our plates and when. Tonight, as you prepare your evening meal, I invite you to consider how your food choices might affect your sleep. Make adjustments where you can, observe the results, and give yourself the gift of better rest. Your body and mind will thank you in the morning and in all the mornings to come. Sweet dreams, my friends. May your nights be peaceful and your days be energized by the restorative power of truly restful sleep.